All right, happy Wednesday, guys. Welcome to the Larson Life Group Happy Wednesday, guys. Welcome to the Larson Life Group Huddle. If you're confused here live why I am reintroducing this call, it is because I just hit record and I want to introduce myself in this call for those watching the replay on YouTube. So if that is you on the replay, I am Jim Larson. I am direct to Symmetry Financial Group by way of Jamie Susie and Corey Nienaber, Sarah and Jared Reinecke, Jacob Pogue in the Marshall Wayland hierarchy. I'm an equity partner, thanks to the incomparable Kelly Bush, and a senior vice president in the company. I am today going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we're going to chat through our process masterclass. And I'm just going to walk you guys through every step of our process and what good agents are doing in that step and what not good agents are doing in that step. And I'm doing this because I want to give you a visual to help self-identify. Are you doing well? Or ooh, maybe you need work. And so here is our sales process. We're going to buy leads. We're going to call leads. We're going to set appointments. We're going to prepare for the appointment. We're going to run the appointment. We're going to write applications, and we're going to issue business. This is our process. Getting good at these things is really vital. So I'm going to walk through line by line, step by step, and I'm going to give you, here is what a good agent does in this step. Here is what a not good agent does. And if you're willing to be vulnerable, which I love vulnerability, you'll learn that about me. If you're willing to be vulnerable, why don't you say, hey, this is me, whether it's good agent or not good? Why don't you in the comments, just self-identify for us. Buying leads. A good agent commits to a SLO, which is a standing lead order, and supplements as needed. Here's what I mean by that. A good agent is going to commit to, I'm getting this many leads coming in every week, whether that's Razor Ridge or Lighthouse or Opt. I am committing to an SLO, a standing lead order, and then as I need, I'm going to supplement. When I was in my producer era, my sweet spot was getting 10 Razor Ridge leads a week, every week. And then that was my standing lead order every week. Non-negotiable, those leads came in. And then if I got hungry, I would place an additional order for 10. And that would happen once or twice a month. And then I would supplement with the B leads as I needed. That was my good flow. Everyone's going to have a different flow. But a good agent is going to commit to a SLO and supplement as needed. Now let's see what a not good agent does. The not good agent only buys leads sporadically. Like maybe this week, maybe not. I don't know. I guess we'll see how I feel. Maybe next week, not even sure yet. Just going to kind of see. Maybe I need to run a yard sale to get lead money. Maybe I need to sell something. Tough. There's a difference. There's a difference. You're not going to gain momentum if you buy leads sporadically. Not going to gain momentum that way. Buying leads, a good agent is going to start, when they're new, is going to start with lots of cheap leads, quantity over quality, in order to practice the process. They're going to need a lot of at-bats. A lot of at-bats, a lot of practice. So you're going to spend the money that you've decided is your lead spend money. You're going to spend that on getting lots and lots of cheap leads, so that you can practice the scripts, practice the process, practice the objections, practice all of this. Then, as you get good at the process, you're going to transfer that lead spend into better leads that have a higher closing ratio, and you're going to find yourself making more money in less time. Who does not want to make more money with less time? But a not good agent is going to bypass that process, and they're going to think they're good enough for A leads right out of the gate. I don't want to do all them cheap leads. I'm going to put my money, just give me 10 of the good ones. I'm like, nope, that's dumb. You're not good enough to close them yet. You don't know the process yet. You don't know the scripts. I know you think you do. You don't. I thought I did. I thought I was going to be good at this. I was not good at this. But you're going to want to bypass it because you're going to want to look for the shortcut and the easy button. I know this. I've been around this block, guys. You're going to want to bypass it. You're going to want the easy button and the shortcut. This ain't a shortcut. It's not a shortcut. It's gonna cost you money, and you're not gonna be profitable because you haven't gotten the at bats. So a not good agent thinks they're good enough for A leads right out of the gate. That is not a good strategy. Malini, that was me at first. I learned very quickly it doesn't pay when you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, it's true. Buying leads, here are overall best practices. Enough resources, meaning enough leads, builds a database and gives fresh opportunities every week. Nothing is going to prepare you like actual reps. Enough resources builds a database. I call it the rule of 9. Some leads you'll close in 9 minutes, some in 9 hours, some in 9 days, some in 9 weeks, some in 9 months. Some of you guys haven't been here 9 weeks or 9 months, so you haven't even had the opportunity to close the leads from 9 weeks or 9 months. It's going to build a database so that you've got people to call, even people from months ago. Patrick Duff closed a lead today that he got in April of 2023. Bought that lead a long time ago. You need to have enough resources to build a database and give fresh opportunities every week. Nothing is going to prepare you like actual reps. Okay? That's buying leads, best practices. Now, calling leads. Here's what a good agent does. A good agent is going to commit to dial time on their schedule, and they're going to call both new and old leads. New and old. They're going to call the ones from this week and last week and 3 months ago and 6 months ago. They're going to have a strong follow-up game. A not good agent has no structured time, and listen to this, calls either only new or old leads. Either only. They are either and only calling just the new leads to the exclusion of all the follow-up and all the meat on the bone in the follow-up, or they bought leads one time and they're just expecting to squeeze water out of that rock and just every week calling the same people. 3 months in, they bought leads one time. They're just trying to make it happen. That's not good. Fresh leads every week, but a good agent is calling the new and the old leads. Okay? Calling leads, a good agent follows a proven workflow and script in addition to Switchboard. Switchboard is a tool in their arsenal, but they're following a proven workflow and a proven script. As in, you're texting at this interval, you're calling at these intervals, you're working a proven system. You're leveraging proven scripts. What's a not good agent doing? A not good agent is working without a process, or they're letting Switchboard do all the work for them. They're just hands off and letting Switchboard campaigns run, and they're hoping. That ain't going to work. Or they're just periodically and sporadically calling when they feel like it, following up when they feel like it, texting when they feel like it. They're making up their own process, making it up as they go instead of following a proven workflow. There are proven workflows. Use them. Calling leads, a good agent knows how many dials they make per hour, which should be about 30. If you're making less than 30, it could be, down to 20. Let's say you just happen to have a lot of people pick up, or you get in a really good conversation with somebody. But it should be about 30 dials in an hour. If you're way less than that and you haven't talked to people, it's because you're overthinking everything. And believe me, I was there. Before I even wanted to dial, I wanted to make sure I had the script, I had their name, I had their address. I was like so ready that I was doing like 6 or 7 dials in an hour. Like, it was bad. You should get about 30 dials an hour, and you're going to aim for a minimum of 300 dials a week. That should just be 300 dials a week. Should be your minimum. And hint, you're going to have the resources that allow you to make 300 dials a week. A not good agent has no metrics as goals. They're not aiming for 300 dials a week. They have no metrics. They're not aiming for 30 dials an hour. They're just sort of seeing what happens. throw your hands, just see what happens. They don't know how many dials they're going to make in an hour. They don't know how many dials they're going to make in a week. They don't know much of anything. They're just going to see what happens and let the chips fall where they fall. Yeah. Jessica Carroll, she's getting vulnerable. Caitlin Menser. Calling leads, best practices. Don't buy into either recency bias, which is only calling your new leads to the exclusion of the old ones, or trying to squeeze water from a rock, which is only calling your old ones that you've been calling for 3 months because you're not buying new leads. Best practices. Work from processes, proven workflows, proven scripts, and track your metrics. Okay? Those are best practices. Let's move to setting appointments. Setting appointments. Now you're on the phone with the client. A good agent is going to press into the resistance from the client and help the client connect the dots between their request for life insurance and your phone call. That is an art. Everyone you're going to call requested a call, but that does not mean they recognize your phone number, your name, or your voice, or that they are even listening when you introduce yourself. There's an art form to pressing into that resistance they're inevitably going to give you and helping them connect the dots between their request and your call. There's an art form there. There's an art form. How do you act when you see a phone number that you don't recognize pop up on your phone? Most of the time, you ain't even going to answer it. But if you do, I know this is at least me, I'm like, hello. I'm like mean. I'm like grumpy. I'm grumpy. I'm mean. I'm like, I'm on edge. I got that person stiff-armed 1,000,000 feet away from me. Who are you? What do you want? How long is this going to take? Right? Well, that's us. We got to help them. We got to absorb their resistance and help them connect the dots between their request and our call. A not good agent gets off the phone at the first sign of resistance. Oh, did I just call some people out? Oh, that wasn't me. I didn't fill that thing out. So sorry to bother you. Bye. How many of y'all? Put a 2 in the comments. If you put a 2 on the comments, if you duck off the phone at the first sign of resistance. Panic click. Yeah, there's some of that. There's some of that honesty. I've learned that my phone call with that client doesn't start till they give me resistance. Eliciting that first layer of resistance, that is the beginning of the call now. Yeah, that's an art. It's an art. Setting appointments. A good agent locks the appointment down, confirming the appointment time multiple times and reinforcing the importance of it. You want to know what a not good agent does? Accepts a casual call me back or an ambiguous okay as a confirmed appointment. Yeah, I was on a 1:30 call yesterday and we were in breakout groups and Amy Fine had a new agent in their first dial session, set 7 appointments. And he was like, Amy, I just set 7 appointments. I need help with these. She's like, great. Send me their info. It's like, oh, I don't have any info. It's like, you didn't get any info? He's like, no, he just told me to call him back tomorrow. I'm like, okay. We wouldn't call that an appointment. Call me back tomorrow is not an appointment. An appointment doesn't count until you have their pre-qualifying data, the client qualification form. You have the basic info you need in order to field underwrite, and you have an agreed upon time where they know and understand what the context of the conversation is. If you catch them at a busy time and they're like, hey, call me back, I'm working, I'll be home around 4 p.m. You don't have their qualification data yet. That's not an appointment at 4 p.m. Does that make sense? You're going to call them at 4 p.m., hoping to get the pre-qualifying data so then you can set the appointment. 4 p.m. is not the appointment. 4 p.m. is when you're going to call them in order to set the appointment. Does that make sense? Setting appointments, a good agent is going to dig for the qualifying info. Dig for the qualifying info. Now, what do I mean by qualifying info? I need your date of birth, any medical issues that you're dealing with, your height, weight, and your smoking status, and a reasonable idea of what you're looking for. I need these 5 things. That's what I need. Now, a good agent is going to dig for that info, but isn't going to get buried in the weeds. What do I mean by buried in the weeds? When I call that lead, I'm interrupting them in the middle of their day. They didn't know I was calling then. They could be in the checkout line at Target, making dinner for the kids. They could be on their lunch break from work. They could be any number of places. And here I am interrupting their day. And I'm like, hey, I just need some quick information. And they're like, well, I got diabetes. They're like, hey, are you on insulin? You on this? How long have you had it? What was your last A1C? When did you last visit a doctor? What is your doctor's name? Do you have your doctor's address? Any other issues? Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? What are they like? Holy crap, that's way too much. So it's a balancing act between you want to get that info, you need enough to kind of go to work, but you don't want to get buried in the weeds. You don't want to turn them off and you don't want to overwhelm them. You want to get to that appointment. There's a balancing act there. A good agent's going to know how to balance that. They get enough information to work with, but they don't overwhelm the client with questions. It's a bit of a balancing act there. A not good agent is either going to miss critical info that puts them in a position to not know how to field underwrite well, or they're going to get too personal, digging too early and taking too much of that client's time when the client wasn't ready and didn't ask for that to give that time. It was a balancing act. A balancing act. You want to get to that appointment. Get as much information as you can, but get to that appointment. Okay. Setting appointments, best practices. The call doesn't start until you elicit resistance. Don't let that be the end of the call. Let that be the start of it. I like using that. I was talking to Warren. Warren sent me a text message, voice message today too. Like, hey, the client didn't remember filling out the card. That's going to happen a lot, especially with leads that made their request a while ago. I don't overthink the card. The card is a touch point of rapport and reference, but the card isn't the purpose. Why did they fill out the card? They filled out the card because they felt a financial vulnerability. So I'm not worried about the card. I'm worried about the financial vulnerability. So if they're like, oh, I don't remember filling a card out, Jeff, no worries. Look, here's what I do. I make sure if anything happens to you that your family does not lose the house that they've grown to love because they can't afford it anymore. Does that sound like a conversation worth having? I'm off the card. I'm into the point of the call. Here's what I do. No matter, I wait for that first layer of resistance. I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. No, I'm not. Whatever they say, it's irrelevant. Hey, totally get that, Jeff. I don't want to bother you. Here's what I do. I make sure that if anything tragic happens to you tomorrow, that your kids don't have to give up on their college dreams because you guys can't afford it anymore. Does that sound like a conversation worth having? What am I doing? I'm getting to the initial emotion that caused them to make the request in the first place. The request they made is irrelevant to me. The feeling of vulnerability that caused them to make the request is everything to me, and that's what I want to elicit. Locking down appointments is crucial. Confirming, double confirming, triple confirming that they are going to answer when you call them is crucial. The goal is the appointment, not a full qualification form. If they're in a hurry, let them go. Lock down that appointment. You'll figure it out on the appointment. If they don't know their latest A1C, don't worry about it. Roll, if they don't remember the medication they're on, don't make them go find it in the medicine cabinet. You'll figure it out. Do your best to get quick hit what medical issues they have, and do your best with that, knowing you might have to pivot in the appointment if new information comes up. But get to the appointment. The goal is setting that appointment, not getting the full qualification form. Yeah, Melina, I try to get their blood type. Yeah. It's irrelevant information, right? Like, that's the joke. It's irrelevant information. You can dig so deep, you're trying to get everything until you're getting irrelevant information that isn't going to help you do your job. All you want to do is get enough information to get to that appointment. Now you're preparing for the appointment. What does a good agent do to prepare for the appointment? They don't rely on virtual mentor or navigator to find the right policy. I'm stepping on toes. Good agents do not rely on those tools. They don't. Good agents know how to field underwrite themselves. So what does a not good agent do? They just plug their data into virtual mentor or navigator. If you're like, wait, that's me, I should be doing more than that. Yeah, you should be. Here's what I want you to do. Go to larsonlifegroup.com/onboarding. Scroll to the bottom, and there's going to be a button there. And that button's going to say, I need help finding the right policy for my client. Click that. Watch that. That's going to walk you through the underwriting process. Amber and Christina yesterday, they do a call at noon Eastern on Tuesdays. Yesterday, the call was, I just set an appointment. Now what? Guess what? They walk you through the process of field underwriting and not just relying on virtual mentor or navigator. Why don't we rely on virtual mentor or navigator? Why? Because they do a really, really bad job typically of matching clients with stuff that they're gonna actually qualify for or be priced right. Yeah, Malini, it's not accurate. Maura, it's not the full picture. Correct. These are algorithm tools. I know AI is going to get real smart. It just ain't smart yet. You're smarter. We're collectively smarter. We are better than those tools. Don't rely on those. Preparing for the appointment, a good agent is going to find one best policy, become an expert on that one policy, and prepare 3 price points of that one policy for the appointment. Did you hear that? A good agent is going to find one best policy, become an expert on that one policy, and prepare 3 price points. So when you're giving them options, you're not giving them options of multiple different companies. You're giving them 3 price points of the same best policy. That puts you in a position to only need to become an expert on one policy for that appointment. What does a not good agent do? They get lost trying to become an expert in every policy that client might qualify for. Don't get lost. Go through the field underwriting process, work with your mentor, find the one best policy, and pick 3 price points. Don't make it harder than that. Preparing for the appointment, a good agent checks the underwriting guidelines and the matrix and runs necessary risk assessments. That's what a good agent's going to do. They're going to check the underwriting guidelines. They're going to check the underwriting matrix and SFG quotes. They're going to run necessary risk assessments if the client has a condition that doesn't line up with SFG quotes. Melanie says time-consuming but worth it. Why is it worth it? Because you're going to be able to place the policy or place the client with a policy they're going to qualify for. If they qualify, it issues. If it issues, the client gets protected and you get paid. If you bypass this and you don't do a good job with this, you might get an application in, but if that application gets declined, guess what? They don't get protected and you don't get paid and you didn't do your job. Do you want to get paid for doing your job? Preparing well is your job. What does a not good agent do? They just hope to get the application done without regard to approval likelihood. They're just going to throw a dart and hope it approves. And yeah, they're going to get on leaderboards. Yeah, they're going to go into opt and we're going to shout them out and their issue rate's going to be terrible and they're not going to protect families or make money. I'm in the business of protecting families and making money. I hope you guys are in the business of protecting families and making money. That happens by being a good field underwriter and matching your client with the best policy, not by just throwing darts and hoping something sticks. So, overall best practices. Manually underwrite your client. Don't just use Virtual Mentor or Navigator. You can use them as a supplemental tool, but don't only use them. Manually underwrite using your mentor, SFG quotes, and the carriers. When you find that one best policy, read through the agent guide on that policy so you become an expert in it and you can answer questions. Be at least, before you go into that appointment, be at least 90% certain the policy you choose is going to be approved. But have a backup plan ready. Sometimes they're going to throw medical information at you in that appointment that you were not prepared for. I had one guy tell me in the pre-qualifying stuff he was perfectly healthy. We go to submit the application. We are in the middle of the application. He agreed to terms. We're writing this application. 2 years ago, the dude had a kidney transplant, literally has someone else's kidney in his body. Apparently didn't think to mention that when medical issues came up. I had to pivot. I had to hard pivot. I actually wasn't ready to pivot for that. I wasn't ready at all. I had to hey, we're going to need to take a break and revisit this tomorrow because I got to go back to work for you. All right, those are preparing best practices. Now, running the appointment. A good agent helps the client identify their own problem. I'm going to put a pause here and I'm going to tell you this. Go to larsonlifegroup.com/onboarding. Scroll to the very bottom on the need help section. I need help running the appointment. Click on that. Watch that video. But you want to help the client identify their own problem. You don't want to tell them what their problem is. You want to ask the right questions. What do I like to ask? I like to start the appointment by assuming no business at all happens between us. And since no business happens, I have them walk me through, if something tragic happened to them tomorrow, walk me through exactly what their family's next financial moves would be. What does your wife have at her fingertips? What policies are there? What savings is there? What equity in the home? What do you got? Walk me through that. And I'm not doing that typically for my own curiosity. I'm doing that because I know the client themselves has not thought through this at all in their life. They've not thought through this. So I'm giving them an opportunity to say it out loud. And they're going to identify their own problem. What does a not good agent do? A not good agent assumes the problem is self-evident. Oh, they were looking for life insurance, so here's life insurance. I was guilty of that. But you want the client to be very clear on the problem. A good agent offers options as an obvious solution to the already discovered and understood problem. Hey, Jeff, I just heard you unpack everything available to your wife, and that sounds hard. That sounds like she would be in a tough place. Can we both agree that you probably need a better solution than that? Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, I did go to work for you and I put together several options. Every single one of these options is better than your current solution. I'm going to walk you through those and answer any questions and explain all the fine print. See, what I'm doing is I am offering now these, what I put together as solutions to a very self-evident problem. What does a not good agent do? Offers options as a thing to buy transactionally. Hey, Jeff, thanks for getting on the phone with me. I put together some options for you, and here's what we can do. We can cover the whole mortgage for you for about this much a month. We can cover half the mortgage for this much a month. We can cover the whole mortgage and then some for this much. We can cover 6 months for this. Which brings me to the next point, that a good agent is 10 minutes minimum into the appointment before offering options and especially giving pricing info. 10 minutes minimum into that appointment. A not good agent is going to offer options and prices 90 seconds into the call. How do I know this? Because I've been both. When I was new, I got on that appointment and I price option dropped within 90 seconds. We call them cute quoters. All I was a Google tool. He Googled how much is it going to cost me, and I came back and I told him exactly how much it was going to cost him. That's not running an appointment. Not running an appointment. An appointment, you want to help the problem become self-evident. A good agent, Alex, I'm a Google tool and I get nervous, so pay attention to this one. A good agent is emotionless because the solution sells itself if the problem is evident. I don't feel pressure in an appointment because if the problem is evident, the solution just makes sense. We're on the same page. I don't need to talk him into anything. I just need to help him answer questions. That's it, because the problem and the solution line up. What's a not good agent do? A not good agent is anxious about the sale because the problem hasn't been identified. You jumped on there assuming they needed this because they asked for it, assuming their family would be in a hard position because, I don't know, they showed up on a request. And so now you're anxious about the sale because you're trying to talk them into it because you're making 1,000 assumptions about what situation their family would be. And you haven't even just slowed down and be like, hey, walk me through exactly where your family would be. Walk me through. I want to understand why you need this. Why are you in the market for this? What's your situation look like if you don't get this? I just need to understand that. I can't help him solve a problem if I don't know what the problem is. He is not going to buy a solution to a problem that he hasn't decided is a big problem. And so when the problem's self-evident, the solution sells itself. I'm emotionless in that appointment. If it makes sense, let's do it. If it doesn't make sense, let's not do it. But when I'm anxious in the appointment, when the problem hasn't been identified and now I'm trying to sell something, when you feel anxious, it's because you're trying to make a sale. When you're emotionless, it's because you're just trying to solve a problem. And if it makes sense, it makes sense. That should be simple. I don't try to sell anything. I try to help identify a problem. And then if I can help solve the problem, that just makes sense, right? Like, you got a problem, I got a solution. This just lines up. Like, this is simple. I only feel anxious in appointments if that problem's not clear. Running appointments, a good agent assumes the application is in the bag and has already checked that tech is working. I know that if this problem and this solution line up, we're applying for this. That's simple. And I've already known because it's one policy. With one policy, different price points. I've already checked to make sure the login's working. I've got that. The tech's up and running. We're good to go. A not good agent expects that the client is going to need to think about it. So they're surprised when the client actually wants to apply and they are not ready to submit that application and they're trying to log in and then they're having tech issues and now they're double anxious on top of anxious. And that is a hot mess. And who wants any piece of that? I don't want to be there. How many of y'all find yourself there? Put a 3 in the comments if you're surprised when the client says, I'll buy. Yeah, there's some honest people. Is this making sense why you're surprised and why you're anxious versus being emotionless because the problem and solution just line up? A good agent knows that clarity is kind and that pressure applied in certain situations is appropriate. When I do a really good job of helping the client self-identify their problem, and he details for me that they have absolutely no savings, they have no life insurance, they live paycheck to paycheck, they've got debt up to their eyeballs, he's got 4 kids, and his wife doesn't work, and they've got no life insurance, and he needs to think about it. Jeff, I totally get wanting to make the right decision and taking your time to make the right decision. But thinking about it needed to happen 5 years ago. And I just want to be really clear with you here. We both know the situation your wife and kids are going to be in if you do not do this. I do not want you to get lost in thinking about it and putting them in that vulnerable situation. I know you don't either. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put this application in and we're going to start this process so that your family is protected. We can continue this conversation. If we believe that there's a better option out there down the road, I'm willing to explore that. But I am unwilling for your wife to sit in that situation. Do you understand why? I'm applying pressure. Now, so many people are like, I don't want to be a pushy salesperson. Does that sound like a pushy salesperson? Because does it sound at all like I'm trying to sell anything? I am a problem solver. I am not a salesperson. When the problem and the solution will line up, it just makes sense. And so that puts me in a position to apply pressure wisely because clarity is kind. Here's what a not good agent does. A not good agent thinks the nicest thing they can do is not be pushy. And so they miss out on protecting vulnerable people because that guy says, I need to think about it. And you think being nice is saying, okay, that's not nice. It's not nice to his wife. It's not nice to his kids. Someone needs to be a dad to that guy and be like, hey, no. Like, you needed to do this before, and now you need to do this now. Now is already too late. Tomorrow is definitely too late. Someone just needs to talk sense into him. Do you understand that? Like, there's a big difference there. And so often new agents think they're being nice by not being pushy, and they miss pushy is when you're trying to push a solution on a problem where it doesn't fit. And if you don't know the problem, but you're trying to push a sale, that's salesy and pushy and no one likes it, which is a totally different ballgame when it's obvious that the problem and the solution line up. That is no longer pushy. Do you see the magic in that? When you identify the problem, you are in the perfect position to offer a solution, and then follow-up becomes easy. All of a sudden, following up with them, if they don't buy in that moment, following up isn't like, hey, did you want to buy the thing that I had? It's, hey, we both know the situation your family's in. We both know it's important to get that done. Can we connect and do that today, or is tomorrow better? This should not be hard. You guys are making it so hard. I just say you guys because I made it hard. I was there. I made it hard. I'm trying to help you make it unhard. So what are best practices in running the appointments? Help the client see the problem. Don't assume the problem is self-evident. Help them see it. Once the problem is obvious, your solution should make sense. If they don't want to move forward, either the problem isn't big or the solution doesn't work. Figure out which one. Figure out, is the problem unclear? Does the solution not fit? Where is the disconnect? Why don't they want to move forward? Because if these two things are clear, moving forward, simple. All right. Writing the app. A good agent knows that tech issues happen and that everything is figure outable. They maintain the conversation. Jeff, we're running into some tech issues here. I'm sorry, man. It doesn't usually happen. Sometimes it does. I expect it's going to get up and running here shortly. No worries. Here's what I'll do. I'll grab your information now, and once it's up and running, I'll plug it in and then send it over to you to sign. If I happen to need more information when it does come up that I didn't think to ask you now, I'll give you a call back. Does that sound fair? I'm just in control of it. A not good agent acts like tech issues are the biggest problem in the world, and they lose their composure and they freak out. I'm going to lose the client. Well, if you think you are, you will. How about just don't lose the client? How about just explain you're having tech issues? You're going to get it figured out and everything's going to be okay. That's also an option. A good agent is going to set expectations ahead of time so the client's never surprised. Hey, Jeff, when we put in that application tomorrow, I'm going to need your social security number. I'm going to need any medications you're on. I'm going to need your driver's license number. I just want you to be prepared because this is the stuff the insurance company is going to look for. So I want you to have that ahead of time. They're only caught off guard when you didn't prepare them. Hey, now I need your social security number. Why? You going to steal it? No, I wouldn't even know what to do with it. What do even people do with social security numbers? I don't even know what to do with it. A not good agent surprises the client with unexpected questions and processes. Surprise! This one comes with a medical exam. I didn't know that. Don't surprise them with that. A good agent has a pivot option ready in case of a decline and sets that expectation. Hey, this is our best bet. Understand what we're doing now is we're applying, and I do think you're going to get this. There's a chance something pops up. There's a chance they don't like something. No worries. That's why I love being a broker, because I have access to so many companies. A not good agent is not ready for a decline. Best practices, keep composure with tech issues. Set expectations with the client. Have a pivot option ready in case of a decline. All right, issuing business. You've written this application now. A good agent is going to track the status of that application in that carrier's, that insurance company's back office, and they know what the underwriters need. They know what's holding up the issue of this policy. They know what the underwriters are looking for, so they can be a mediator to help speed that process along. A not good agent has no idea what the underwriters need or the status of the application. They threw it into the wind and they're just sitting back and waiting for something. Track your business. A good agent sticks to immediate issue or simplified issue business as the best chance for issue. A not good agent is going to write complicated business that has little chance of issuing. That's part of that field underwriting and working with your mentor. A good agent checks with the carrier first if the app declines to see what they can learn in order to best pivot. If you get a decline, you can't just go write another application without knowing why they declined and going back to the table on the field underwriting process to now match them with a good policy. A not good agent just takes the decline as either a loss of business or goes and writes another application that's just also going to decline. Figure out why it declined so that you can pivot appropriately. All right, best practices for issued business. Start with an app that has a good chance of issuing by going through the field underwriting process well. Follow the status of the application and be in touch with the underwriters through the back office of that insurance company. If declined, learn why and pivot responsibly. Now, I'm just going to go over some of this stuff real quick. That was our sales process, best practices. On the workday, work week, kind of best practices of an agent in general. A good agent is going to plan their week ahead of time and has training calls, dial time, and appointment time scheduled into their calendar. Always. You know what training calls you're going to be on. You know when you're dialing. You know when you're running appointments. A not good agent only works when it's convenient, and their effort rarely matches their goals. A good agent prioritizes association with other high-achieving agents. They're in the workroom. They're active in GroupMe, asking and answering questions. They're on training calls with their camera on, engaged in the comments. A not good agent works alone. Just alone, by themselves. Yeah, boot camps and conferences for sure, Caitlin. A good agent is ferociously curious. Always asking how can I learn this? How can I get better? How are they winning? How are they doing that? How are they closing leads? How? A not good agent is prone to be critical. This doesn't work. They're just lucky. These leads don't work. Wah, wah, wah. Good agent's ferociously curious. A good agent sets the goal to sit with 10 appointments per week. Sit with. Not set 10 appointments. Sit with. 10 a week. A not good agent just sees what happens. A good agent participates in creating culture. Camera on, asking and answering questions, and there's your attending events, Caitlin. Attending events. A not good agent consumes culture. Camera off, just reads stuff other people write and doesn't show up. A good agent knows what they want, understands the price, and is willing to pay it. A not good agent doesn't know what they want, what it costs, or whether it's even worth it. Flying by the seat of their pants. Okay, I took you guys 2 minutes over. I hope this was worth it. Go ahead for me, put a 4 in the comments if you learned something tonight that you can take and run with. Good. Good, 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 good. Love all of these 4s. This is why I show up every Wednesday night, to give you guys good, practical, real information that you can take and go leverage to grow your business. I love protecting families. I love what we do here. I don't think it's hard. It seemed really hard to me at first. And so I talk about the hard a lot because I want to be sensitive to that. But when you heard me throughout this call on what a good agent does, did any of that seem hard to you? That was just a skill set I had to learn. It was all hard at first. It was drinking from a fire hose at first. It's going to slow down. You're going to get good at this. You're going to feel confident in this. It's going to come in time. None of this is hard. And the best part is, it's actually really, really rewarding. It's really rewarding what we get to do. It's crazy to me that we can protect people at their most vulnerable moment and get paid a stupid amount of money to do it. I actually love it a lot. All right, y'all. Have a great night. This is recorded. It will go up on YouTube tomorrow. I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.